now being available for trade, will the Chicago Bulls actually find a trade partner for Zach Lavine, or are there other players on this roster that may get moved simply because there's no market for Zach that we thought? Let's talk about that more after this. Listen, if you're new to the channel, it's your boy Pkidd, as you can see from the Windy City Breeze, doing all things Chicago Bulls on the Chicago Bulls Breeze, where we talk all things Chicago sports here. Guess what? We are talking and finally at the time where we all thought we wouldn't get to. I was one of those people that thought Zach Lavine would be traded before this moment, but it made sense for them to wait out. We're now at that point where majority of the league is now available for trade. It's January 15th. And now as we get closer to the trade deadline, you're probably going to see more rumors heat up. However, with the Bulls, again, being 4-1 since Zach came back, actually trending in the right direction, him and Kobe White actually coexisting, other players on the team actually stepping up, is this the time to do it? Now, listen, Brian Windhurst has already gone on record to say that, hey, listen, if the Bulls could facilitate a trade with Zach Lavine would be at the airport before you know it. Now, that's sad to say, but that's the state of the relationship between the Bulls and the player, Zach Lavine. However, Zach himself, when asked about the trade, says he doesn't even think about it. He lets his agent handle that. Right now, we're winning, and that's all that matters to him. And he's looking forward to that. It's just another day at the office for him. So now I know he has to say that. That's just part of the course of him being a professional and things of that nature. But the rumors have been around for a while that he would love to be somewhere else. However, again, that was before we were in the situation we're in now. That was before there was not necessarily a market. That was before everyone tried to put him in a Lakers jersey for people who the Lakers were never going to trade. And that's before we also knew some of the trade packages that were presented that just didn't make any sense. Zach Lavine for DeJounte Murray does not make sense. Full stop. Unless we're trying to get Pascal Siakam or something like that, that doesn't make sense either. And unless Pascal Siakam commits, most teams are not even going to entertain that trade because they want him to commit. And you can't trade for a player and extend him for another 6 months. So you'd be taking a gamble on a lot of different scenarios that would really help the Bulls, unless it's the King situation. Now, that is not an end all be all. There are other people who could come out to win works. We have to keep in mind that AK, when he got Nikola Vucevic, no one was even looking Orlando's way. We weren't even considering him as a trade partner, them as a trade partner, or him a piece to be on the Bulls. But when we got him, we were excited. We knew it. We was here. We wanted it. We were like, hey, Vooch is a solid big man. He's an all-star caliber big man. We need him on his team, and he got him. Someone could say he got fleeced. Someone said we didn't. I would say that the trade worked out for both sides. But again, we could find ourselves in a situation where the teams that we don't think likely could be in a situation where they would take Zach Lavine, they would take the headache, so to speak, and they will allow him to be who he is, and we get something in back. I still think that a Kyle Kuzma trade should have happened, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. But I'll be honest with you, I'm okay with Zach not being in any trade conversation. I am of the conglomerate or the fan base or the team that's pro Zach and staying in Chicago Bull, because I see where we're going. I see us trending in the right direction and we're clicking at the right time. I'm actually more on favor and in part with the idea of departing from Demar Derozan, mainly simply because the contracts situation hasn't worked out for them either. In fact, it was reported last month that the contract talks that they had for extension was so far apart that they thought it was a foregone conclusion that the Bulls might actually put him up and make him available for trade after January 15th. And that doesn't seem to have changed. We've heard nothing realistically of substance in regards to it. And if you ask me, it kind of makes sense. I like what DeMar brings. I love the fact that he shows up and he can close out games for us. I like the fact he has a lot left in the tank. I like all of that, which is why he'd be a good person to trade. I hate to say it. Why be a good person to trade? Because if the contract situation is not working out and you see that there's redundancy, there's a slight redundancy in what we have, and you want to move off one of these players, that's the one. My second part of this is also understanding that, hey, DeMar is DeMar. The way he plays is the way he plays. When you want DeMar to get in his back and do what he does, that's not going to be in a fast-paced situation. That's going to be in a slowed down half court set. Excuse me, where he's going to get to he's going to get to a spot, he's going to elevate, he's going to shoot. That's who he is. That's what he does. You have to live with it. Now, if that's not what you want your offense to be predicated off of, if you want your offense to actually be a little more free flowing, faster pace, then you have to consider the fact that Zach Lavine fits that mold better than DeMar does. I'm not saying that DeMar and Zach is better than one another. I think there's some things that they both do better than the other. Obviously, I think Zach is a better three-point shooter, but DeMar is a mid-range assassin. It has been his whole career. And realistically, he will work well on a team that has or runs constant half-court sets that will allow him to be him. That may not be the Chicago Bulls. If you really look at how we're constructed, if you really look at where our players thrive, we thrive on a run. Kobe White as a playmaker thrives on the go. Zach on the go. Alex Caruso on the go. The younger guys on our team need that back and forth. They need that up, and that's just how they're accustomed to playing. And realistically, it makes sense when you look at that free flowing, high energetic thing. I'm not saying that DeMar can't do it, but I've seen Zach get his money, get his buckets within the flow of that. I've seen DeMar totally change the pace of play to kind of slow that game down and make that happen. Now, that's not a bad thing, but it's just not everyone's cup of tea. And it does remove and take certain people out of rhythm when you have that happening. So I can see why that would be possible. Now, again, we can argue that to the cows come home, but that's where I would personally stand, because I honestly feel like it would be easier to trade DeMar on an expiring contract than it would to get anyone else in this conversation. I think it would be easier. I think it would be better. I think we can get something back that actually makes us a playoff team now, as opposed to trying to sit there and find out what we're going to get later. I think we're building the right things in the right direction. We're going, in the right direction. This is a matter of being a little more patient. And I'm going to end this with this. Although this is encapsulated by one thing, who do we have directing things? I know the coaching situation may not change, but I want people to understand that as this team got better, Billy Donovan did different things. Billy Donovan's lineups changed. His lineups actually got better. His decisions actually got better. He's coaching better. So we're hitting our stride, so to speak. Everything's hitting at the right time. I think that's something to look at as we sit there and have these conversations, because I don't think that we never had the talent. I think our talent was never put in the right position to play. But I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear whether or not you feel that there were going to be a secret trade. I'm thinking that there's going to be a team that comes out the woodworks to make a move for Zach, and I can see a couple teams that really need his ability. Or do you think that this is going to be one of those situations where we can't seem to find something for DeMar and he ends up being traded before Zach? I want to hear your thoughts. Whether it's love, whether it's hate, put it in the chat. I'll be in there with you. Till next time. Peace.